What's going on, everybody? Welcome to the Run Pure Sports NBA Hardwood show. It's a Friday, and that means we got tons of NBA games. That means we got JT Hayes. That means we got Helmet behind the scenes, and we are ready to bring you guys the winners. Let's bring in our boy JT Hayes first. How is your beautiful Friday going so far?
Oh, I am in such a great fucking mood today. I mean, it's unbelievable. First of all, as you guys know, and many of the people watching know, my baseball season ended about a month ago, and that means it's push-up season. Went to the gym today. I got up to 200 diamond push-ups. It's the quickest I've gotten to that number. So I'm going to dinner with my wife. I might find the biggest guy in the restaurant, just punch him in the face and see what happens. That's the kind of day I'm having. I feel vivacious. You ever feel vivacious? Just when you're in a great fucking mood, good mojo in Discord, and already in the YouTube chat, we're already up to 75 likes? Oh, it's amazing. I'm in a great mood.
It's an amazing day, amazing Friday. I mean, you've inspired me. I came in. I mean, I'm in a pretty good mood today, I'd say. You know, things are going good. Christmas right around the corner. Everything's on the up and up. But I mean, you kind of boosted me to that next level, so I appreciate it. It's Friday. We're going to pick some NBA winners. Let's go, baby. Let's go.
Yes.
Yep. JT, I'm a little sick, but you know what I said? JT Hayes Fridays. I'm in. I'm not missing this. There's no chance, you know? We had enough time to talk about the SaberSim yesterday. I let Hoop and AP do their thing, and we got to talk about SaberSim a little bit more. We're not going to talk about as much as we did yesterday. If you want, check out that show. We've talked about it on a bunch of other shows for sure. So you can look at all the content and get a little peek at the SaberSim if you want to get in on it. Hoop, we got a code right now, Saber15, get you 15% off. And, I heard on the show yesterday, you're not able to just extend this deadline as long as you want. There's other people that are just going to shut the gate if people don't get in now.
Yeah, I mean, so it's basically 7 days. And like I've said in the past, we run promo codes here, and your boy pushes them along. And I say this is the day it's going to end, but then it really doesn't end, and we keep it going. Well, that's because at Run Pure Sports, there's an accounting department, and it consists of one person, and that one person is me. So it's easy to continue the promos. Now with SaberSim, they have their own department over there, and it's more than just Hoopster. So 7 days. You have to take advantage of this offer. Saber15. It's going to get you 15% off any package at Run Pure Sports, any combo between Run Pure and SaberSim. You get that 15% off month after month as long as you don't cancel. And, it's the best deal, I think, in the industry. I mean, you combine Run Pure, which our normal Run Pure fantasy price is $80. You combine that with SaberSim, their optimizer is $90, so $170. Use that promo code though right now, and it's $127.50. So it's the best deal you're going to find in the industry. All in price. Get all the content on Run Pure Sports, all the features of the SaberSim optimizer, which includes their projections, their ownership projections as well. The Run Pure projections are on there. I mean, it's a game changer tool, and we're working hand in hand with their software engineers to kind of incorporate our content a little bit more. You're going to start seeing the core plays on SaberSim. You're going to see the cash plays tagged on SaberSim. So a lot of good things to come with this deal. We're super excited about it, but that promo code Saber15, like I said, next Thursday morning, it is bye-bye. So need to take advantage of it now.
Yeah, and if you're someone that you play golf or even MLB, and you're like, I play some of the other sports, and I'm more MME that, I think you just get in now because it's a great price. And on top of that, you can start practicing a little bit for it, right? Maybe this MMA card tomorrow, you dive in and you practice a little bit. You don't have to, you don't have to play heavy volume. Let's say you're somebody you play a lot more. Maybe MMA, you go a little bit cheaper just to kind of learn the optimizer. Maybe for golf, just play a little cheaper to learn how to use the optimizer. JT, I think that's important. I think everyone just assumes, hey, I have an optimizer now. I'm just going to put 150 lineups in and it's just a printer. It's over. Like the free cheese, however you want to say it, it's free money. Just put in 150 lineups and you win. There's a lot more challenges to it. And there's tons of ways where you can practice and use it ahead of time. So what are some of the challenges you've seen with an optimizer and the benefits as well?
Yeah, BigT and JSU brought this up the other night. They said, a lot of people think, all right, I just, I want 50 lineups. Boom, I'm going to make no changes, no edits, and just put those in. That's not what you do. You still revise your player pool. Myself, I'm putting in 20 lineups just to get used to it, working around how do I get my preferred players in most of my lineups. But it's great. I will tell you, I started working with it about 6 weeks ago. I wanted to get in. So I got my own subscription there just to see what it was about. And there was a night, and this was before the Hornets were shorthanded. There was a night where it popped out in a lineup, Kelly Oubre and Pat Connaughton from the Bucks. And I was like, all right, I'm Xing those guys out, right? Because both teams are healthy. Well, turned out both teams, one of them got blown out, the other blew out the other team. And both those guys went for like 45 points, fantasy points. And I never would have thought to put those guys in lineup. So now I'm much more sensitive when it pops out a player that wasn't even on my radar. And that's the thing. These data scientists over at SaberSim, another important thing is, and those of you out there who've used a couple of different optimizers in the years that you've been playing DFS like I have, you got to be careful because a lot of these, they start up, they're hot, and then they stop maintaining the product. These guys are working on the product every single week. They're making updates throughout the day. I really think it's going to be a big improvement to my game and to some of your games as well.
Agree. And one of the guys that kind of helped me out when I was looking at my builders, I had a really good team one night. It didn't finish first, right? But you want to try and get, like, some people think, oh, I should get a first place finish in a month. It might not be a month, right? You want to try and get to the top as much as possible. And then when you get to the top, you need some luck to fall on your side, but it's all about just trying to set yourself up for the chance to win. And I think that this optimizer helps do that. And Daniel Gafford was one guy one day I would have never played, right? He happened to sneak in the pool, and he was the difference of why I got all the way to the top. So I think it helps really build out a really nice lineup construction for you, along with the good chalk plays and the good low owned plays to make your lineups different. JT brought up a good point, maintenance of the optimizer, right? They didn't make this thing just disappear, right? They're even in our Discord helping us out a little bit. So why don't you tell the people a little bit about that as well before we get into the NBA games?
Yeah, their team just super strong over there, very helpful. They're in our Discord channel, like you said, answering questions. Andy at SaberSims just does a phenomenal job. I know a lot of our people have had a lot of questions. They pop him a question, he instantly answers it. We've had a couple tiny minor bugs and instantly fixes them within minutes. So that's another feature. So, if you sign up through Rumpier Sports, you get in our Discord, you can reach out to the SaberSim team at any hours of the day, send them a message. Now, if it's 3 a.m, you might wait a few hours before you get a response, but normal business hours, they're on it like that, responding. And then just to add on to the conversation about the optimizer, yeah, this is a new tool. Like, don't go in and say, I usually play for $100 tonight. Well, now I have SaberSim, I'm going to play for $500 and I'm just automatically going to print. Easier way into it. They got a lot of different slates, a lot of different sports we can do with this. We're going to do a lot of stuff long-term, a lot of videos. Easier way into it a little bit. Don't change your style of play because you have SaberSim now. And also, make some stands too. Make some adjustments. Don't go in there and just blindly run it. Make some projection adjustments. If you really like a guy and he's not projecting well, bump him up a couple points and see if he starts hitting your lineups. You got to offer a little bit of input. Yes, the optimizer is a great tool to have, but your knowledge of sports too can be helpful. So make sure that you're combining everything, the Rumpier Sports content, the SaberSim content, and your own, opinions on the slate, and get to the winner's circle that way.
Yeah. And listen, let's say you're someone that uses one of the other optimizers in the industry, right? There's definitely ways that you can just try 7 days and check it out. And I think you will like it. When I first used it, watch some videos on it, I was like, man, I'm sold. I really love it. There's tons of optimizers in the industry that you can use. Yes, you might be more comfortable with one. Maybe one helps you with one thing, one helps you with another. But I think overall, this is the best one. I really do believe that. It's awesome. But I don't got too much else to say about that because we got to dive in these NBA games. We got the people, they are bringing the likes, which is great. 333 watch. We got 134. I'm sure you're all subscribed to the channel. We got all this content rolling in this weekend. So excited for the MMA card tomorrow. Hoop, do we have a show for that tomorrow? Because listen, I'm not a big MMA guy, but I opened up the card and I said, man, I know a lot of these fighters and they're all in really good fights. Do we got a show tomorrow here on the YouTube channel?
Yeah, great card for MMA tomorrow. Show is still in the works. I know DC's traveling and Keg is unavailable. Title should have something out. We're just kind of working on a partner. We don't have 10 guys that are very knowledgeable on MMA. So we're trying to pull some strings and maybe get a special guest on the show tomorrow. So stay tuned. That's one reason to make sure you get the notifications here on this channel, because when we go live, you'll be able to tune right in. So make sure you hit the subscribe button so you know. But tomorrow we're working on something.
All right, sounds great. We should dive in, but before we do that, got to talk about the members never win. I don't know if our producer has that graphic still up, but I mean, was it last week or I can't even remember? The weeks always meld together. $2.2 million in winners over here at Run Pure Sports in a week cycle. I mean, absolutely crazy to imagine. Tons of different hits within that. So yeah, if you guys aren't a member, now is the time to sign up. Saver 15, you get all the sports, one price, and on top of that, there's great value in that Discord chat. Be able to grind it out and become a better DFS player. But let's dive in. We can start talking about this NBA slate. And JT, I'm going to shift over to you because we have the game of the night to kick it off. It feels like, a great night where, hey, you say you're going out with the wife. You might punch someone in the face. You got that kind of energy tonight out. It's okay. You don't have to punch, you don't have to punch De'Aaron Fox for ruining your lineups. You don't have to punch Kelly Oubre. You know what I mean? Like they're going to be locked in. You can't make switches and swaps. You just get to ride out your team because it seems like everyone is loading up on Hornets. They're loading up on Kings, specifically because James Washington. Well, what about him? He is not James Washington, PJ Washington. I'm melding in football from yesterday. PJ Washington, he is out, and they already have a cast of characters already out on that Hornets team. And on the opposite side, you look at this Kings team, they are missing Rashawn Holmes. They have some pretty decent price tags. And on top of that, we look at this Hornets team, and they are a team to target defensively. I think it's going to be a good game. Total has moved up. I believe yesterday it was 229.5 or even 227. It's moved up to 231. So it is trending upward. It's a game to target. JT, break this game down for me.
You mentioned it. I'm really happy that this game is the first game of the night because there's a lot of news. PJ Washington doubtful. As you mentioned, he may have overextended himself on that touchdown last night, getting the Steelers back in the game. But doesn't look like he's going to go. Have to watch the news for the Kings starters. Was talking about this in the Discord today. One of the things that I've noticed about Alvin Gentry is his rotations brings me back to when he was with the Pelicans, right? There weren't always great rotations. All of a sudden, a guy would play that hadn't played in a while. He was doing that with Tristan Thompson. Tristan Thompson played, I think, 20 minutes on one game on a Saturday a couple of weeks ago. Then he was a DNP coach's decision a couple of days later. Different situation now. You have Rashawn Holmes out of the picture, but keep in mind, he still has Marvin Bagley back there. Chimeze Metu is there. And then you have Alex Len or Tristan Thompson. So going to be really important to see who starts this game. And the other thing that I noted, and I had to do a little bit more, if anyone in the YouTube chat remembers this, I think it might have been the reason why Buddy Hield wanted to get out of New Orleans was because of Alvin Gentry. And last game, Buddy Hield all the way down to 17 minutes, but that's good for Tyrese Halliburton. It's good for De'Aaron Fox, and Harrison Barnes is back, and he got a lot of run last game. I expect him at 5.4 to be one of the better plays in this game. Then you look to the Charlotte side, and the guy that stood out to me, just because I've been impressed by the way he's played over the course of the last week and a half while they've been shorthanded, is Nick Richards. I think Nick Richards is going to be popular probably, but
not anymore. He just got ruled out.
Okay. Well, that is
literally as you said his name.
that means we may have to play JT Thor, baby. JT Thor.
JT, let's go.
Now, so it's interesting because their prices are up, and now you start to wonder, can they compete in this game with what they have? If you think that Kelly Oubre and Miles Bridges are going to play 40 minutes here, you definitely have to be interested in them. You have to be interested in Cody Martin. And then, I guess if they're down to JT Thor, then that's something that you have to consider. The one thing is there are other cheap centers available. Looks like DeAndre Ayton is questionable here, midday downgrade to questionable. AD is questionable, which maybe brings Dwight Howard in play, a little bit more expensive, but definitely have to keep an eye on the news now that a guy that I planned to build around has been ruled out.
Yeah, I mean, this is crazy news. Hoop, listen, first thing, break it down for me, like what you do now with the Nick Richards news. What is Like, how many Hornets are too many Hornets? The classic DFS question we love to be asked. And, I don't know, Hoop, how'd you feel about the Book Night call the other day, or Book Night, whatever his name is? Do you think we read that pretty well? And are you going to be, firing on him today now with this new situation?
I mean, I think we kind of nailed that situation because everyone kind of assumed that he was going to play just endless minutes. And, we were like, pump the brakes a little bit. And he played 22 minutes, right? That was the game. He played 22 minutes. And they're just running these guys. I mean, like JT kind of alluded to, do we think these guys all play 40 minutes? Yeah, absolutely. Because it's been the case the last 3 games. I mean, they're just playing these guys as many minutes as they can handle. Oubre, 43 minutes, 41 minutes. These guys are going to play 40 minutes. Like dream scenario in DFS where, in a close game, your guys are getting 40 minutes. This is a 230 total. Sacramento's favored by 1. So we got a close game, very high scoring, the 230 total, and guys that are going to play as many minutes as they can handle. It's the dream scenario. So to answer your question, as many as you can fit in, I guess, is kind of what you want here tonight. Got to see who starts though. I mean, but JT Thor is definitely a guy that's going to be in play. Got 15 minutes last game with Richards. Have to imagine he gets up there in the upper 20s, I'd say at least. I mean, potentially more. He could be grouped in with these guys that play 40. Cody Martin, Kelly Oubre, Gordon Hayward, Miles Bridges. I mean, I think you want at least 3 Hornets in your lineups tonight. Yes, something bad could happen. They go out there and get their asses kicked. That's possible. You could say that with any game on the slate. It's the NBA. Volatility night to night is super high, but you couldn't ask for a better situation. The highest total on the slate, 1-point spread, and you have a team with basically 8 guys that they're going to be playing. I mean, it's the best possible scenario. On the Kings side, Harrison Barnes has a good price on DK, 5.4K. I played 30 minutes last time. I imagine the same. 6K on FanDuel, I don't think is the worst price tag. I got to see who starts here. Is it Tristan Thompson? He only played 21 minutes, but he's a guy that can produce a lot in a short period of time. So really need to see the starters on the Kings side, which we will get because this is the first game here on the slate. Hornets side, I mean, it's lock and load for sure.
Yeah, and looking at this game, it's the Kings, right? So does anyone blow out the King, or does anyone get blown out by the Kings? People blow out the Kings, but I do think that the Kings are definitely a team that you want to be targeting, and I think we should target them here with the Hornets. JT, let me ask you this question here. You walk into a bar and JT Thor walks into a bar. Who wins that fight? I mean, you had all this energy today, but a man named JT Thor, he seems like a strong guy, and someone at 3.1K you might want to put into your lineups.
Yeah, he's a guy I don't want to fight. He's a guy I want to embrace tonight, I think, now that my guy Nick Richards has been ruled out. So there's not going to be any of that. I'll buy him a beer, especially after he helps us ship tonight. But a good point, too. As shorthanded as the Hornets have been, they've been playing hard. They beat the Sixers the first time they played them. These back-to-back rematches never go the same way as the first game. So really interesting here. I think Gordon Hayward, I didn't mention him. I wasn't all that interested in Gordon Hayward. But I think you have to be now. I think, between he and Oubre, I think one of those guys, and Martin, is probably going to have the ball in their hand at all times. And you may see upwards of 40 minutes from one or two of these guys.
All right. And for the people wondering, I've got people in the chat, JT, they're asking if I'm in witness protection. JT, I am not. My computer's all messed up. So it's just messing up all the lighting and everything. It's a disaster. I only got one screen, which is not a good time for me. I like having 2 screens. So we're powering through. We're going to get the job done. Hopefully I can fix this at some point. I cannot figure it out. But Hoop, I'm going to ask you one last thing here on this Charlotte Hornets situation. I think we want to play these guys, of course. But if you are going to fade some guys, typically you'd say, like I said the last time, you want to fade more of the top end guys, right? You want to fade a Bridges or a Hayward or an Oubre. The problem I have with looking at this situation is they're all priced up to the same spot. And like Cody Martin is now 5-7. So you are going to play these guys and they're going to play a pile of minutes. You could make an argument. There's 3 great spend ups here in Oubre, Hayward, and Bridges. I'm not saying you can't play all 3, but if you decide to only play 2, my lean is Hayward's playing point guard, so you want him on your team. And I think Kelly Oubre has clearly looked like the alpha and looked like one of the best players on the team. I would lean Bridges as my number 3 guy. And the reason why I lean that is his price was elevated because of who he was playing with. He was playing with LaMelo Ball. And LaMelo Ball helps space the floor, helps take some pressure off it and give better passing lanes, which LaMelo can feed him to. I think Bridges, if you have to pick one, takes the biggest hit. How about you?
Bridges would be the guy that I'd be most likely to not play. But like if you're playing 150, like you are playing all these guys at a very high rate. If you're only making a couple lineups and you can't, get all of them in, yeah, Bridges would be the guy. But between Cody Martin, Oubre, Hayward, Bridges, I'd be willing to say with pretty high degree of certainty that 3 of those 4 guys are going to pay off their price tag in a big way. And it's price tags that we typically don't pay for these guys, but the situation that we're in, they've been in the situation for a week. So the prices have adjusted up a little bit, still just, too low at this point. So I feel real good that like 3 of those 4 main guys are going to pay off their price tag.
Yep, definitely have to like it. And I do think you're going to see the Kings go small and play the Tristan Thompson and Barnes route, which I think the Hornets are perfectly fine with him. There are some other guys. I do think Bouknight does get a little bit of run, but I don't know who that other guy is going to be. JT, do you have a lean on any other guy that could pop up? There's this, man, some of these names, maybe you'll know it, JT, because you are the guy that knows all the parents at Run Pure Sports. I'm going to try and pronounce this one. Could it somehow be Arnaldus Kulboka? Could it be Kai Jones?
That looks really accurate. That looks really accurate, that first one you just said.
Yeah, we got Mr. Arnaldus. That wasn't bad. Vernon Carey could pop up, right? Vernon Carey is a guy we've seen in the past. He definitely can't keep his hands to himself. Kai Jones, would he pop into the center spot for Nick Richards? Do you have any read on that, JT Hayes? Or are you just letting the coach tell you, which sometimes I think is the best move? Let the coach tell you with the starting lineup, because the Hornets coach, he's pretty reliable with that.
I think what we've seen over the course of the last week and a half, and Hoop talked about this with Bouknight or Balknight or however the hell you pronounce his name, is that they're going to lean on their primary guys. And the other thing that Hoop mentioned, right? Do the Kings blow anybody out? This is just about the best DFS matchup, right? Alvin Gentry came in. He wants to play fast. He doesn't have any defenders. Kings do not have any defenders to scare anybody. So these guys are going to take 20 shots a piece, maybe more than that. They're going to be on the court for 40 minutes. The main guys, I'm not going to focus on the Vernon Careys, the Kai Jones, whoever else may play just a few minutes to give these guys just a little bit of a breather before they go back in the game.
All right, let's shift on over. Let's talk about the King side, actually, because I want to do that. I forgot about that side. We want to talk about who are the guys you could plug in on the other side as well. Let's talk about the Hornets a ton, and this is like the game of the night, and then we'll breeze through games. Don't worry, K Falik, if you're in the chat, don't you worry. We'll get the show done in time. Are there any Kings you're interested in, Hoop? I think Terrence Davis is good for his cheap price tag. Don't mind Harrison Barnes. Don't mind Tristan Thompson. I think he's a really good value at 3.5 if you need it, especially with no more Nick Richards. What are you doing here with these Kings?
Yeah, definitely going on the cheaper end on the King side. It's going to be Harrison Barnes, Davis, like you said, and Tristan Thompson. I mean, those are the 3 that I have most interest in. If you're loading up on the Hornets, I mean, it's never a bad strategy in GPPs to play some of these guys on the other side. And I think we have 3 pretty solid options. I mean, Harrison Barnes at 5.4, he returned from injury, played 30 minutes, probably gets more minutes tonight. It's a good price tag for him. Terrence Davis is fine at 4K, and then Tristan Thompson at 3.5K is also a fine option. So we have a lot of guys. Terrence Davis has been playing some very solid basketball, still only 4K. So there's a lot of good options. I mean, there's 8, I think, really strong plays in this game, maybe 9.
JT, who are the Kings run backs here? Who do you got?
Yeah, it's a good point on Davis. Looks like he's taken more than Buddy Hield's role. But the only other guy that I'll mention is Tyrese Halliburton. Tyrese Halliburton back, missed a few games, played 38 minutes the other night. He was the guy who took the big shots there at the end of the game against the Orlando Magic. Just 6.1K. It looks like a heavier price, but that's based on, I think, if you think back to the way Luke Walton was using him, it looks like he's going to be one of the guys that Alvin Gentry leans on for this Kings team. And I like this matchup, especially with how thin the Hornets are. As well. I think Halliburton can easily pay off that price tag.
I know we took a lot of time on those games, but that was definitely important to talk about. 433 watching, 177 likes. Let's get those up and let's shift on over to the next game. Let's talk about the Mavericks. Let's talk about the Pacers. And it's a Rick Carlisle revenge game, JT. You got to love the Rick Carlisle revenge game. Obviously he's the coach and he's going to just be playing his guys a ton of minutes like he likes to, but there are some players out there. I don't know if you saw Miles Turner. He's very upset. It was very hurtful. He says, I'm seen as more of a role player here. I want more involvement in the offense. So do you think Miles Turner gets involved in the offense here, or do you think this is a game just to kind of stay away from?
Yeah, how perfect was that, right? I mean, the Athletic breaks the story about how they're planning on trading these guys. And then the Pacers management sits down with them and says, we're really not doing that, but maybe we might do that. And then seizing that opportunity, Miles Turner goes out and says, I'm really pissed off. They're not using me enough. Seeing it as his opportunity to get out. I don't trust Rick Carlisle's rotations. And it is a good matchup for big men. It's also a good matchup for point guards. I don't know if I'm going to get to Malcolm Brogdon on this slate. Assuming everyone on the Dallas side is in, not a ton there either. I think that Carlisle, he says he was going to play fast, but then they really don't play fast. So this isn't my favorite game on the night. And Turner at 6-1, I don't think that's the build route that I'm going to take. I think it's going to be one of those cheap guys from the Charlotte Sacramento game. And then there's a couple of other centers. The route may actually be 2 pay down centers, depending on what the news is with Anthony Davis and with DeAndre Ayton. So I don't have a lot of interest here.
Well,
maybe, one guy, Chris Duarte, still too cheap, 4-4, had a great game the other night.
Well, if the route is to pay down centers or, going down there, we got some guys you can spend up on. I know you love to spend up on Porzingis. So do I. Porzingis is one of our favorite guys. Totally kidding, obviously, if you watch the show. We do not love paying up for Porzingis. And then you got Sabonis there, which, hey, Sabonis, he has a nice usage. And the other team, the Mavericks, they're going to play the double big. So looks like it is a good spot technically for Sabonis minutes-wise. He's going to be able to get as many minutes as he can. And, hey, if you want to spend up to be a little bit different at this power forward or center position, this is a game where you could do it, Hoop. Are you going to do it?
I'm back in the good graces with Mr. Porzingis. I played him Wednesday night, and he got us like 44 fantasy points. So I'm back on, the Porzingis side. In terms of the
other way, Hoop, we yo-yoed. I went the other way. I said, I don't need you today. It's okay. Yeah. And he almost had a triple-double, it felt like, at the end of the first quarter.
Yes. Yep. That was a game. It's a mystery. Rick Carlisle's not coaching tonight because I think he has COVID, but I don't know if
you're right. I forgot about that.
Yeah, I don't know if it matters all that much. Probably doesn't, especially for DFS. The only one on the Mavericks I have interest in would be Luka on FanDuel. He's like 9.9K. Not going to pay the 11K for him on DK. And then on the Pacers side, the guy that stands out, yes, Duarte I think is interesting at 4-4. He can get hot from 3 and definitely pay off that price tag. But Karis LeVert, kind of playing pretty good lately. 5-8 on, I believe, on both sides. I think he's somewhat interesting. Sabonis I like, but I'm not paying the 9-7 on DK. It's not the greatest game for me. A couple pieces, like I said, Luke on FanDuel, Duarte and Karis LeVert a little bit, but I'll mostly be fading this game.
Yep, I'm in agreement. Let's move on. Let's talk about the next one. And this is 30 minutes after the start of the game. We got the Nets. We got the Hawks. 228 total. And man, this is a total that matches that Kings and Hornets one. The problem that lies here is you struggle with, are you going to spend up for all these guys? We have a lot of value, so you can spend up for some of these guys here. You could pay for a Harden and a KD if you want to. I think if I paid for anyone in this game, it would more than likely be a Trae Young, or maybe it would be going to like a John Collins, who's been great. JT, we'll go over to you. You like your Atlanta Hawks. Is this a spot that you're going to like them here against the Brooklyn Nets?
Yeah, Bogdanovich still out, so definitely Trae keeps a bit of that bump, but Cam Reddish is back. Cam Reddish at 3-2, I would be interested in if there wasn't so much other value. I mean, if he starts, then maybe I have some interest there. I think you can look at Trae. Point guards have done well against this Brooklyn team, especially recently. And then the Nets, it's tough, fully healthy. You now have Nick Claxton back in the mix. So it takes any interest that I might have on LaMarcus Aldridge completely off at that price. I'm not interested in Claxton, given all the other value at center. Clint Capella, 7-7 is a good price. It's just between him and Collins. It's always tough to predict which one of those two guys is going to have the bigger game and get the bigger run. So I don't know. I think Trae, and then like you said, you're going to have the salary to pay up. You're going to have the salary to pay up for someone on this slate. And we may not have the news about Anthony Davis before the 7:30 games locked. So I think you could certainly look to Trae. Look, 10K, probably a little bit more than just a little bit outside of the range that I feel comfortable with him when they do have all these other bodies, even though Bogue is still out.
Yep. Hoop, let's go over to you. I think you've been riding the Trae Young train a little bit. So have I. Trae Young has definitely been good to me. How about you? What do you want to do with Trae Young here against the Nets? Or are you trying to go to those other stars on the opposite side?
Yeah, I mean, Trae Young, I think it was this show last week where we kind of talked about it. JT brought up the point, like he's playing all these minutes, upper 30s, and it's just kind of continued. So I like Trae Young a lot in tournaments. Yeah, the price is now up, but I don't know. All the stars on this slate kind of seem similar, and this game is pretty appealing. 228, Atlanta favored by 2 in a close game. Trae's going to be out there a ton, just jacking it. So I do have quite a bit of interest in Trae Young. Cam Reddish coming back does kind of muddy up that situation with Kevin Huerter. And I mean, TLC's been playing a ton of minutes, actually back-to-back really solid games. But Huerter on FanDuel's 4.6K. I think you can definitely look to him on that site. Then on the Nets side, it's going to be more FanDuel plays. Like Harden's 11-2 on DK. I'd have a hard time going there, but he's like 10-4, I believe, on FanDuel, much more appealing. So he would be my favorite play on the Nets side on FanDuel. But Trae Young on both sites, I think, really strong play. Huerter on FanDuel is a good play. This game has the potential to be very solid. Big total, almost 230. Spread's only 2.
All right. Don't got too much else to say about this game. Definitely one I think you don't want to ignore in your MME builds. If you are playing with that Saber Sim tonight, don't just X this game out. If you're not getting some guys, maybe bump it up a little bit. Check it out. Definitely a game that could be on the winning lineup for sure. Let's go from a bunch of winners to a bunch of losers, the Knicks and the Raptors. Not a fan of this game, not a fan of these teams, but I am a fan of that Nick Nurse does play his guys minutes. That is one thing to mention. I just think some of the price tags have gotten elevated for this slate, and it's just not necessary. That is my issue here. And then on the Knicks side, I just don't know where to go. It doesn't seem like the right spot. You can make an argument. Julius Randle does have a ceiling at 9.4K that he could be a good tournament option. You do have RJ Barrett, who has looked terrific. He's 5.1K, but it is a game where he's a Canadian. I think I believe I saw that on Twitter. So, hey, it's a little bit of playing in the Canada narrative. So JT Hayes, I know you love the narratives. Any interest in some RJ Barrett, any interest in some Julius Randle or any of these Raptors playing a ton of minutes?
Yeah, definitely interest in RJ Barrett here. He played 38 minutes in the front end of the back-to-back and had a great game against the Spurs, then 34 minutes in the second game on that back-to-back against the Pacers. Different result. Knicks lost badly. This Knicks team, Tom Thibodeau, pretty desperate right now. Some of the moves that he's making, I think he's going to rely on guys like Barrett and Randall, and I think you'll see Derrick Rose a bunch. Just don't have interest in maybe Randall a little bit, but not a ton of interest in any of these other cheap Knicks outside of Barrett, just because of, again, value at other spots. And then you look to the Toronto side, and you mentioned it, 8,500 for Pascal Siakam. He hasn't shown that ceiling all that much this season. You've got the team mostly healthy. I know OG is out, but you've got Trent back. Scotty Barnes is in. Scotty Barnes' price came down a little bit. Van Vliet at almost 9K. I was interested in Precious if he was going to be back here in this spot, but now we have all the value at center. So outside of a couple of Knicks, that's it for me here.
All right, Hoop, we'll shift on over to you. Any interest in this Knicks and Raptors game? Pretty big slate. A lot of games we already talked about that we like, and there's some more coming up with some news that we might want to discuss. So do you have any interest in these guys here?
Just one play that I really like. JT brought him up, RJ Barrett. He's playing a ton of minutes. He's just chucking shots, and he's looked pretty good lately. I think he's a good basketball player. 5-1 on DK, similarly priced on FanDuel. I think RJ Barrett's a really good play. And that's probably about it. I mean, I could see Julius Randle as like a last guy in on FanDuel at like 8.7K, but RJ Barrett I like quite a bit here tonight.
All right. Yep. Don't got too much else to say there. Let's shift on over to the 8:00 games where, yes, we will have some news coming, but we will not get to that game yet. We'll talk about the Pistons and Pelicans first. And we got to go to our Detroit Pistons homer. It's his favorite team. I saw you updated the Twitter profile picture at a Pistons game. Was that recently, Hoop? Did you go to a Pistons game this season?
I did go to the Pistons game maybe it was about 3 weeks ago on a Friday night, and I did not buy seats. The seats were given to me, and they're really good. So that's the only reason I went to the game. Trust me, I would not spend any hoop dollars on a Pistons event. So
who did you watch? What was the game?
It was against the Nets too, so it was right by the Nets bench. You know, the kids got to see Harden and Durant, and they're all excited. I did it for the kids, all right. That's what we'll say. We did it for the kids.
Did you charter an armored vehicle for the ride into Detroit?
People don't mess with Hoop down there. Hoop is a feared presence in the Detroit area. Just like JT rolling into the bar, throwing down with the alphas. Hoop goes to the D. They stay away. All right.
I'll bring you in with me. We'll clear a room. It'll be nice. We'll
just clear it out. I mean, it would be no contest. I mean, the Hoop JT combo, just dropping bows and fists. I mean, it would be done real quick.
Well, Hoop, besides when you are dropping bows on people in Detroit, break it down for me. Break down the hoops here. What do you got with the Pistons? What do you got with the Pelicans? Because I do think there's some pretty interesting plays on that Pelican side.
Again, another game for me where I think there's one play that stands above the rest, and it's a really solid play. And Valanciunas, 7-5 on FanDuel, 8K on DK. I mean, just having a great season. Back-to-back really strong games here. Should have his way, obviously, against the Pistons in this matchup. Pelicans favored by 7. He's my favorite play in this game by a long shot. On the other side, maybe Isaiah Stewart. I think maybe a little sprinkle of Cade. I don't think he'll be very popular. He's shown some big upside, but like I said, Valanciunas I think is a phenomenal play on this slate.
Yep, I like Valanciunas here. I know he's got really good splits against the Pistons, but reminder, and I'm not saying he can't have a big game today. That was always against Andre Drummond, right? Of course. And yes, he can kill these Pistons big men too, but just figured I would mention that. JT, we'll shift on over to you. Because Valanciunas plays so well against the Pistons, do you think he does it again tonight? Because I do think he is a good spend-up option, but not because of those reasons, obviously.
Yeah, I mean, instead of Drummond, he now gets Isaiah Stewart and Trey Lyles. So count me in with Valanciunas here. And like Hoop said, I mean, I might have had some interest in Josh Hart at just 5K before, but now I just don't need him. I don't need to go there in this game. It kind of certainly much slower pace than the first 2 games that we talked about. So that's probably it for me on this game as well.
All right, let's shift on over to the next game and let's talk about the Cavs. Let's talk about the Timberwolves, who are missing still D'Angelo Russell. And without D'Angelo Russell, this is a pretty good spot for a guy like Cat. It's a pretty good spot for Edwards. And I mean, the only issue I have is Evan Mobley's been great defensively. The Cavs play a little bit slower, but the usage is going to be there for these guys. I think Patrick Beverley back helps him out a ton. I worry about the pace a bit, but I do think the usage is going to be good. Like, I think Karl-Anthony Towns at 10-3, he could definitely have a ceiling game. And Edwards called him out. He basically said, hey, like, you need to start actually like going up there. Like when guys are getting doubled, like, the ball goes your way, you got to go up there. You got to go get some buckets basically. So,
yeah. And that's the same thing you could say about Karl-Anthony Towns' entire career. Like, it's the same thing. That's just how he's so frustrating as a player. Like, every single season, it just feels like he leaves so much on the court, just so much, but continue on. Sorry.
You're not wrong, but I do think Ant is going to bring out, I think he's a very passive person. I think Ant's going to bring it out in him slowly. So we will see. It's not the greatest spot in the world, but I think it's a good tournament spot if you have the salary to do it. If you want to take a shot, he's going to be low owned. And then Ant Edwards, I don't mind at 8-4. The problem with Ant that I've noticed this year and been a little frustrated with is it does feel like he has more like downside than you would like at that current price tag right now of 8-4. That's the one fear with him. And again, there are ways this game could just not go its way, right? There's ways it could either blow out. There's opportunities for the game just play a little bit too slow. So I do have some fears of that, but I think they're great tournament plays and guys that I want to try and get some exposure to. And then on the opposite side, Evan Mobley at 6'8", I wouldn't sleep on him because Evan Mobley has been great this year. Definitely can show a ceiling at that price tag that you might want to have some interest in. And there's a bunch of guys in the Cavs who've been pretty good this year. JT, we'll go over to you. What do you think about the Timberwolves and the Cavs?
So taking all the news into account, there's one guy that I looked at this morning that I thought was a really good play. Price came down a little bit, and I still think he is. Again, if you're going to go different than the 2 cheap center route, I think it's Jarrett Allen at 7-8, under 8K now. People talking about him and Mobley eating, not so much. I think Jarrett Allen, as other centers can have his way against Karl-Anthony Towns and the Minnesota Timberwolves. And then, again, earlier this morning, maybe Pat Beverley with no D'Angelo Russell. I don't see a need to play him now. Like you mentioned, the Cavs, Cavs, the talent, they're gelling. They're playing well. They're playing good defensive basketball. And if anything, I want to look to the Cavs side because as good as Minnesota has been, I think they're still playing at a little bit higher pace than Cleveland normally plays.
All right, let's go over to you, Hoop. You talked a little bit about Towns. Talk about him again. Talk about Edwards and what you're doing here with some of these Cavs.
Yeah, I actually agree with you on the Anthony Edwards things. Like in this spot, like you'd think the floor for Anthony Edwards is like 38 fantasy points or something, but he's showing a lower floor than, people really realize. Like his floor in these spots is like more like 30, which can be super frustrating. And at 8.4, it's like he's not a full spend, but if you're paying 8.4, you're sacrificing other pieces of your lineup. I don't know. I don't like him as much on the slate. Cat, man, he's just a frustrating guy. Like he can go out there and get you 70, but he's got to be into it. And obviously getting called out from Anthony Edwards, maybe he gets it going a little bit. But oh man, I don't know. Maybe a little bit of these guys, and then Mobley on the other side, I think is a fine play. 6.8 is a good price tag. Cleveland favored, by 1.5 in this game. So Mobley I think is a good play. Maybe a little bit of Edwards and Towns. I don't think they'll be all that popular.
All right, let's move on over to the game with a lot of news, the Lakers and the Thunder. And man, the Lakers, bad loss last night. You got to win that game. And LeBron, it does feel like he is starting to show up. Frank Vogel was getting a lot of crap from the people. And LeBron basically said, it's on the players. It's on us right now. And LeBron doesn't take accountability often, but when he does, right? Like I want to kind of ride LeBron out, I think. And if you tell me 80 sits, man, I do like this spot for LeBron. I do think people are going to say, oh, it's Russell Westbrook season, right? It's the revenge game against the Thunder. But I don't think that's the right way to go. Maybe the only issue I have on this slate is we have a lot of forwards that we like. And LeBron, I don't know, is his eligibility changed? It looks like on DK it has. What do you guys see on his eligibility right now? Because it was last night. It was
just power forward.
So last night it was literally small forward and point guard, and now it's power forward. Like, what are we doing here? Doesn't make
so
sense.
Dumb.
Today's a new day. Today's a new day.
Yeah. And I don't know, like that could definitely matter when trying to figure out who you're going to roster. You got Anthony Davis. If he does play, yes, the Thunder do get beat up inside. So at 9.6K, I do think that Anthony Davis, you could play him in tournaments. Cash games, way too risky. We know he could easily go to the locker room. And then I don't know, is it a revenge spot for Westbrook, JT? I mean, I know we've done this many, many times with Russell Westbrook, but I could understand if AD sits wanting to try and play him, but it also could feel like a trap. So break down this game for me. What are you doing with the Lakers and the Thunder?
He's played this team before. He forced his way out of there. He's not upset about that. I mean, this isn't like the Eric Bledsoe revenge spots when Eric Bledsoe could actually shoot the ball. So not super interested in Russ, although if AD is out, right?
JT, what about this? I mean, I know you're a married man now, but when you were younger and, maybe there's a lady you wanted to relive, the good times with, maybe Russell Westbrook wants to relive the OKC days, and hear the crowd chanting them on and have a good time. So I don't know, maybe Russell Westbrook wants to be there for a nice, go around once again.
Yeah, if that's the case, then he wants to get the game over and get to the bench with the ladies back in OKC. Right? I mean, that's what he would want to do. But you bring up a good point because I think the Lakers are in the same situation as the Knicks where they're desperate to try and figure things out. And Vogel's been changing up the starting lineup. He went with Taylor Horton-Tucker to start the game. Then in the second half, they brought out Dwight Howard. A lot hinges on this news, I think, is very important for this slate about Anthony Davis. And I'll be very frustrated if at what time is this supposed to start? 8:30. If 1 minute after lock, we get Anthony Davis available to play. I don't think that happens because of the midday downgrade. But then again, the Lakers, they do this every day. One guy's always questionable. So I think you're right where LeBron feels that pressure as well, that the season is slipping away. Very aggressive performance from him last night. He was the guy who wanted the ball in his hands, even up until the last 3 minutes when they were clearly falling completely out of that game. And at 9,800, he is at an interesting price point, even on a back-to-back. So I think LeBron. And then on the other side here, I know that the Lakers give up a ton of fantasy points. I just don't love playing these rotations if I don't have to. They now have some guys back. I will say, you're looking for cheap guys. I don't know. I think I would play the other value over this Oklahoma City value just because of how volatile the rotations can be.
All right, Hoop, I'm going to shift over to you. And we got Landa in the chat, arm in arm against Hoop, saying positions matter because of LeBron being power forward eligible and everything. So, Hoop, when me and Landa are on the same side, I mean, I don't know. You might have to backtrack here. I don't know, Hoop. Positions matter, but that's just my 2 cents on the Lakers and Russell Westbrook here. Because let's just say, I mean, there's a lot of forwards that you got to jam in today, and maybe it is a little bit tougher to get LeBron in there. Would you lean Westbrook over LeBron possibly?
Yeah, I mean, now that Mangone and Landa are arm in arm, I might have to retract that statement that saying positions don't matter. But I think we're almost arguing like two different things. I'm saying it in the context of most nights you can play. I don't want to go down this path again, but I'm saying most nights you can play whoever the hell you want because so many guys have different positions. But yeah, now that Landa's involved,
real quick, I do kind of agree that like I think we are kind of arguing two different things. But so like I definitely after that show I kind of took away. Like you might be arguing one thing and I'm arguing a different thing.
Yeah, I think we're arguing different things potentially that overlap like a little bit. Yeah. Anyhow, in terms of this game, I mean, yeah, crazy. Lakers only favored by 4.5 here against the OKC Thunder. I mean, they're just not a good team. The roster pretty dusty. And it was the most obvious thing that bringing Russell Westbrook on this team, just an awful fit, just like a terrible, terrible fit. Didn't make any sense. And you're kind of seeing it play out. Some encouraging stuff though. LeBron, yeah, I mean, this is when teams start to struggle. I mean, biggest LeBron hater you'll ever find right here. I can't stand the guy. I think he's a piece of you know what. But last night he was playing pissed off, and you want LeBron when he's playing pissed off. He knows this team needs to perform better. I think we could finally start to see him turn it on a little bit, and if that's the case, 9.8K is just too cheap for LeBron James. And especially if Anthony Davis is out. If Anthony Davis is out, then, you know, we're really going to be looking to LeBron James. On the OKC side, the only guy that stands out is Giddey on FanDuel. He's 5.5K, I believe, on FanDuel. It's a good price tag for Giddey and what he's capable of doing. Besides that, I'm not messing with OKC.
Yep. All right. So worth talking about. Alex Len is starting JT Hayes. How does that affect your lineups with Alex Len in there over Tristan Thompson?
Kind of what you expect. I don't think that they see Thompson as a starter. Thompson had a great game though, so I think you get Thompson off the bench. I don't know if it's not a situation like Alvin Gentry is not a coach where I feel comfortable playing both centers because it's always possible that Thompson gets the DNP. I mean, that's within the realm of outcomes. I don't think it's likely, but Alex Len is a talented offensive player. He's a terrible defensive player. And I think his price is 3-1. I think you play the starter here, Hoop, unless you think otherwise. I mean, I think you go with Len.
I don't know now. I'm like, I don't know if I want to play like either of them. I mean, we don't have to because we're going to have other value.
Yeah.
I just think, Len, you're probably getting like, even in the starting role, I think it's like one of those JaVale McGee situations where he probably gets like 8 minutes and then 8 minutes. So you're looking at 16 minutes from Alex Len. I'll dig after the show, but I just don't think right now that I want to go there. I'd still probably lean Tristan Thompson. I just think he has more upside, but I don't think you have to play either of those guys.
Well, one thing I think you could see happen, and again, this is why like maybe you don't even mess with it because there could be so much uncertainty. It does make a lot of sense to play Tristan Thompson off the bench. And the reason why is Harrison Barnes. What does he do? He helps stretch the floor, and then you put Alex Len in the paint. And Tristan Thompson, he kind of helps stretch the floor. I mean, he's not amazing at it, but he can do that enough as a big to help with Marvin Bagley as well, where I think it makes a little bit more sense to kind of run that out there. So I don't hate what they're doing there, but the problem is they're just going to ride the hot hand or whatever fits best based on the game plan. And one of these guys could easily get played out. So if one of them has a lot of ownership, there's merit to fading in tournaments because there is a lot of paths where it could go wrong. Don't got too much else to say there. One last thing I want to mention with that Thunder game. Lou Dort, I think, is an interesting play at that 5.5K price tag, just because we know what his ceiling can be, and they're going to need him out there on the court. He's been playing great. He's only 5.5K, and he's going to cover LeBron. He's going to be out there a ton, or even Westbrook. They're going to use his motor for that. So I do think Lou Dort is a really, really good option that people might overlook in that game because the Lakers on a back-to-back, they definitely will struggle defensively. We can shift on over, though. Let's talk about the Bucks and the Rockets. And Rockets, man, they are on a 7-game win streak. JT Hayes, it is surprising to see what they've done, but I like what they've done. I like they've got a little bit more small ball to give some more space for a guy like Christian Wood. Armani Brooks is still only 4K. And then you got Giannis on the opposite side who could tear this team up. What are you doing here with the Rockets and the Bucks?
Yeah, on the Rockets side, I mean, in that game, the last game that they played, and Silas has now done this a couple of games, he's going to the bench and finding guys that haven't seen the court, and all of a sudden playing them. It was Josh Christopher last game, I think, who played, I don't know how many minutes it was, but it was at least 15 minutes in the second half. Had a monster game. Today, it could be somebody else. Is this a slate where I need to play these guys against a Bucks team? No, I don't need to play them. I think if you're looking to play these guys, you can look to some of the cheaper guys. And then the Bucks are fully healthy. Giannis's price has come down all the way. There's a lot of news about Coach Bud saying he doesn't want to run him into the ground. He wants to only play him 32, 33 minutes. That's been borne out in how many minutes he's been playing. But 10-9 on this slate where you have a ton of value, but you're starved for those stars who are going to put up good games. I think it's a good matchup and a good price for Giannis. And that's kind of where I'm at on this game.
All right, Hoop, before we get your breakdown on this game, we got 224 likes. We got almost 500 watching. What's the number we got to get to here on this Friday for the people?
Pretty good number. We'll say, let's go 275. We need about 51 more, and we'll get the Eiffel Tower play of the day, which is, especially on a Friday. I mean, if you imagine watching the show and not having access to the Eiffel Tower play of the day, that's just the worst possible mojo. So 275 for the Eiffel Tower.
Yeah, it'd be crazy season, JT.
It'd be crazy. And for Chat doesn't want to start off like Kristaps Porzingis and have like an almost triple-double in the fourth quarter and then completely fade.
Yeah.
A really good start here tonight. Let's pick it back up.
Yeah.
Yep. No, I am with you, JT. And it's the holiday season, right? I mean, who doesn't want to visit the Eiffel Tower during the holiday season with some rich parents, right? I mean, it's a great time to travel. It's a little bit expensive, but hey, love is in the air around the holiday season. You know, ladies are out there and, we want to hit the Eiffel Tower up, right, JT?
And they light up. They put some Christmas lights on it. It's really pretty during the holiday season.
Of course, we got the Rockets and the Bucks here. Hoop, break it down for me. I know you got people in the background, but we got to talk about Giannis and the Rockets. I can stall a little bit more for you.
No, you're fine now. The kids they're heading off to dinner. They're stopping in to say bye before they hit the road. So
what's on the schedule? What are they having for dinner? Anything good?
Yeah, they're going to a restaurant, meeting the grandparents for a nice little Friday evening dinner. So they're hitting the road, and Hoop's gonna be locking in the winners here.
Going with the grandparents' dinners were always great. Hoop, my mom would always say to me, do not ask your grandmother for a steak because I could get it if I wanted it. She would just let me have it. So she'd be like, don't do that. It's super expensive. What do you do, Hoop? You get what you want from grandma and grandpa. It's just
grandma and grandpa, they never say no. So they'll get whatever they want for food, and then obviously some desserts after. It's free for all with the grandparents. In terms of this game, though, I mean, Giannis, I think, is, the guy still, even at 32 minutes, that you probably want to, I mean, just an uncharacteristic game last time, 31 fantasy points. That's like got to be the floor of the floor for Giannis. I think he bounces back here. I think he's a fine spend in this spot. In terms of the rest of the Bucks, just tough with them at full strength. The prices are kind of up as well. So probably just Giannis for me on the Bucks side. The Rockets, very impressive. I mean, obviously a team that just in the dumpster to start the season, and they went out and won 7 in a row. Super impressive. I mean, very, very impressive. It's going to be a tough tonight for them to continue that streak, but Brooks, I think, is interesting at 4K. Definitely a guy that fits DK scoring quite well. He can hit a lot of threes, so I think he's interesting at 4. Probably about it, though. Like Christian Wood, I can't pay the 9 threes, just too close to those the next tier of stars. So really, I mean, just Giannis and maybe Brooks for me here.
Yeah, and the point you brought up, I think both of you guys kind of brought up with Giannis is this price tag. It's really cheap at 10-9 compared to what it's been. It's been at the 12K, 11-9, and the matchup is good. And he's playing against a team that, sure, you kind of think, well, the Rockets, they suck, but that's not true. They've been playing a lot better basketball. And when a team is playing better basketball like that, they show up. And I think this game could be a little bit more competitive. JT, do you have any thoughts on that? Because I do think Giannis, he's someone I haven't played much this year because I haven't loved spending up for some of these studs. What's your thoughts on ranking him versus some of these other stars in the slate? Is he one of the guys that's like towards the top 4?
He definitely is. Of course, I do think LeBron jumps into the conversation ahead of him, depending on AD. Thing is, we won't know. So you can build with the route of playing Giannis, and then you can move over to LeBron if AD is ruled out. And Hoop brought up a great point. 31 fantasy points, a very, very mediocre game from him last time out. Hard to believe you're going to see that twice in a row. And with all the value on this slate, let's say he gets you 60, right? So it's only 5x plus a little. Could be enough. Could be enough unless you're going to go completely mid-range with guys like Valanciunas and the guys from the Hornets, and then keep it that route. So definitely I think he's in play even at the 32 minutes. Remember, just a couple of games ago, he was in the 12K range. I think he was above 12K. So now you've got like a $1,300 price drop. So it's interesting, definitely. And again, another great point. Rockets have been keeping games close. Rockets have been fighting. They've been playing tough. Don't know if they can do that against this caliber of opponent, but they did beat the Nets the other night, even though the Nets were on a back-to-back.
All right, let's shift on over to the last game. We got the Celtics and the Suns. If you guys could, again, like, subscribe. You're already at 258. Once you get 275, we'll be giving out those plays of the day, which I'm sure that people want. And then coming up after us, we got Big T. We got JSU. They're doing the final countdown show. Is that premium or is that free? What's the word on that? I don't know where it is, and I wanted to let the people know.
Yeah, tonight it's going to be premium, but we're going to do some shows next week. I know some Saber Sim tutorials, which will be free, but tonight's final countdown is premium.
All right, so check it out on the premium side. Definitely worth looking at. Again, if you want to check out the SaberSim stuff and get it with the Rumshare Sports package, use that code SABER15. Sign up now. You get everything together. You get locked in for 15% for life. But let's move on over and talk about these Suns and the Celtics. And JT, I'll shift on over to you because Celtics, they have been dealing with some injuries a little bit, and prices have gone up, but I still think they're in play. It's just a little bit of a tougher matchup against the Suns, but they have been playing a little bit faster, which does help us for DFS. And on the opposite side, you got DeAndre Ayton. He is questionable. And with DeAndre Ayton questionable, this could open up some value. The issue is it's 2 hours after the second to last game when it starts. So you really do have to plan for this. I mean, if you are going to lock yourself into a guy like Ayton, you need to have an appropriate pivot or maybe 2 spots to be able to make it. So I think I would be thinking a lot about it when I am kind of constructing my teams and working through it all. What are you doing with this news for the Suns, and how are you handling the Celtics?
It's big news on a slate like this. The midday downgrade for both Dennis Schroeder and DeAndre Ayton. So, I mean, it's very interesting. Like you said, it's just tough. I think, like you said, I might plan for a couple of lineups in the event that these guys are out. One thing I would say, again, it hinges to me on also the news with Anthony Davis. If Anthony Davis is out and DeAndre Ayton is out or out, if they're both out, I'm easily going to play Dwight Howard over JaVale McGee because Dwight Howard played 35 minutes in a game last week. So he's at least got 30-minute upside there in a great matchup. I would go to him over McGee. If Schroeder is out, then you're looking at Marcus Smart. I think it does bring Jason Tatum into play here a little bit more. And then on the other side, I think maybe you look to Chris Paul because now without Ayton and without Booker, a little bit more of a bump. Maybe this would be a game where he plays big minutes where he really hasn't been. One thing on the Suns, if Ayton does miss, the guy that I do want to play is Jay Crowder, just 4.4K on DraftKings. So I'm going to try, at least in my main lineups, to leave a spot open for Jay Crowder because I think he could have a really big game at that price tag if he misses.
There it is. JT Hayes, confirmed revenge truther. Jay Crowder revenge tonight because he used to be a Celtic many, many moons ago, but JT is in on the revenge narrative. You also have Cam Johnson there, which I wouldn't sleep on him. Chris Paul at 8.3 definitely could show a ceiling. I mean, if DeAndre Ayton's out, you're going to need Chris Paul to get the job done. So let's shift on over to you, Hoop. How are you handling this with your lineups? Because this is really tough. Like you would like to maybe play one of these guys from this game. The problem is, if you don't get the news in time, you might need to leave 2 or maybe even 3 roster spots to really make it work. And do you want to roster that many guys from this game? It's really a tough situation to navigate on this slate.
Yeah, very tricky situation because it's a standalone late game, starts 2 hours later than the next closest. And, if the news doesn't break your way, you're going to be stuck playing some probably mediocre type plays. If we don't have the news, for me, I mean, I'm not doing 150 tonight, so I'm just going to go ahead and kind of hope Ayton plays and just do it that way, because I don't want to be waiting until 10 o'clock Eastern and then kind of get jammed up. So for me, I'm going to kind of just hope that he plays. The midday downgrade's never good, so there's probably a pretty good chance that he sits, but we have some good value. We're getting more. Precious was just ruled out, so I don't think it's as much as a necessity as it may seem. Dennis Schroeder is listed as questionable too. If he were to sit, Marcus Smart, Tatum, Josh Richardson would all get a boost. I'm just leaning towards just avoiding this situation altogether, unless the news breaks early, unless we get it really early, but I just don't think that's going to be the case tonight.
Yeah, you are you're running out of spots, man, because that forward position is getting deeper and deeper as the slate goes on. I mean, what if we get some more news where there's LeBron, right? Maybe AD is out. Well, LeBron at forward. I mean, you're just running out of spots here. And I think Chris Boucher starting, he's an elite producer. Like, you can't ignore him. Sure. Could he get into foul trouble against the Knicks? Yeah, of course he could, but he could even get into foul trouble, only play 20 minutes and still get the value. So this Chris Boucher news is big. JT, what are you doing with this news? And then we can kind of shift on over to the plays of the day, as long as the people get it there. 10 more likes, JT. And you know what? We can easily pull that plug. So we'll see if the people can get it done while you break down Boucher.
Yeah, so Boucher got to, I think it was 23 DraftKings points the other night. His price now is, I'm going to take a look. I thought it was 4K.
4K, yeah.
So what he does is he allows you to, if you want, you can completely avoid the situation for Sacramento, knowing that rotations could be volatile there, knowing that Tristan Thompson had a big game, but he only played 20 minutes. The hard part there, I will say this, the Hornets, especially now without PJ Washington, without Nick Richards, they're going to be almost defenseless down around the bucket. So it's sort of like I want to play one of these guys, even if I know I'm only going to get 20 minutes out of them. Maybe that's a risk I take, because Boucher at 4K, we know that Nick Nurse has a dark spot in his heart for Boucher. So it's not like he's going out and getting 30, 32 minutes. Knicks are a good matchup for him, but there's also a potential that they will run him 20, 22 minutes. If he does get into foul trouble, then obviously it's just not the same type of smash spot. And the other thing that Boucher does not allow you to do is he doesn't allow you to wait for that news with the Lakers, which to me, if Davis sits and Howard starts, I think that's the play tonight.
All right, let's see what the likes are. Where are we at? How are the people doing? 274. Hoop, give me the word. What do we do here on this one?
It's your ship. We're just riding. I mean, it's up to you. I mean, what sort of mood are you? 275 now. So there you go.
Yeah, they got it there. But I will say, one reason I didn't want to kill it, right, is we got the great Saber Sim deal going on right now. Right? So it's not the right time to kill the mojo. You have to know when the right time is to do it. Didn't feel like the right time to do it, especially, again, it's the holiday season, right? I need the Eiffel Tower play of the day in my life. You can easily get it in Discord chat too. We could have done that, but they got it home for us as we were kind of wrapping it up. And let's go on over to you, Hoop. Let's kick it off with the Rich Parents play of the day. Who do you got? Who is going to be the guy that you look to today?
Yeah, so for the Rich Parents play of the day, we're going to a game that I don't love, but I like this individual player. I know JT was on him a little bit too. It's going to be RJ Barrett, just playing a ton of minutes, upper 30s in a close game. This spread is 1.5. Shot the ball 20 times the other night in that big game. The price is very fair, low fives on both sites. Give me RJ Barrett as the Rich Parents play of the day.
All right, let's go on over to my play of the day. And my guy is he's guard and forward eligible. I love getting out the guard and forward. You can put him in a bunch of different roster spots. And I do think everyone is gravitating towards these Charlotte guys that are more expensive. And we're going all the way to the basement. I don't think he'll be that owned because, again, Charlotte guys are just going to be owned. You can just get different from there. And it's Cam Reddish. I think he's an amazing play at 3.2K. I do want to see if he's going to have some type of minutes limit. I know it's kind of being a little bit discussed right now of his availability, but Kevin Huerter's talking him up, JT. You know what he's saying about your boy? He's saying Cam Reddish he's got to get more run. We need him. We need bodies. The gym feels half empty. So Cam Reddish running that second unit, especially against the Nets when you got Paul Millsap on the other side and some of these other dudes like Cameron Thomas. This is a great spot for Cam Reddish to feast and even maybe get some closeout run if he's playing well and the coach lets him. So give me Cam Reddish as my play of the day. But now let's hop on the plane. Let's get the Eiffel Tower play of the day from our boy JT Hayes. Who do you got?
Yeah, so when you think of the Eiffel Tower play of the day, of course, you think of France. But many of you might not know that Canada was actually under French control until 1763. And yeah, even though we have a duplicate with the play of the day, this kid is going to make Rowan and Keisha very happy tonight. Rowan Alexander Barrett is the Eiffel Tower play of the day, brought to you by Destination Canada. Visit Canada, tour Canada, enjoy it. I think, as Hoop said, RJ is a guy they're going to lean on. He's likely going to take 20 shots tonight. But because it's a dupe, I'll give you a bonus. I'm showing this other guy in the game of the night, Sacramento and Charlotte, at under 10% ownership, perhaps even under 5% ownership. Don't know if that's right or wrong, but I think Tyrese Halliburton is the guy that's going to be forgotten about as people look at this game. And what I've seen is that he is one of Alvin Gentry's guys. And I think he's going to have a big game as well. You could pair him and RJ Barrett and then make your lineup from there.
All right, well, I don't know if Title just hijacked the plane to make him the Eiffel Tower play of the day because Title loves himself some Halliburton, so I'm sure he's going to love this spot for him. If he is on that plane, JT, please bring him back tomorrow so we can get some MMA winners from him for the big slate we got tomorrow. Should be a really fun card. Don't got too much else to say, though. We got to get out of the way before Kay Fallick gets upset, and we don't want to get him upset. If you want to get him upset, though, DM him around 650. He loves that. Send him a GIF.
Send him a GIF at 650. He loves it.
Yep. GIFs. Tell him how much you appreciate him. But we got to get on out of here. Thanks a lot for joining us. For me, Mangone, JT Hayes, and Hoop. We will see you guys later.